Hey everyone, it's JD, and this is the Figgy Pop Collector Channel.
Starting transmission.
So guys, it's been a while since we've actually did the background for Ghostbusters. So what does that mean? Well, we're now taking it up a notch. Here is my ranking of all 4 Ghostbuster movies. In the comment section below, please put your ranking of all 4 Ghostbusters. We'll be ranking Ghostbusters 1984, Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters Answer the Call, that's the 2016 Ghostbusters movie reboot, and Ghostbusters Afterlife. And I'm very curious on how you guys rank these 4 movies and see how they compare to where I rank all 4. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's start ranking these movies. And coming in number 4 is Ghostbusters Answer the Call, starring Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Leslie Jones, and Kate McKinnon. This was a 2016 Ghostbusters reboot that came out that was infamously called the all-girls Ghostbusters. So this one actually came out during a time when there was actually a bunch of reboots or the re-sequels of movies where they were actually going to the nostalgic, where it kind of actually like retraced the steps of the original movie, but also brought in new things. And that's where this movie falls into that category. Unfortunately, it wasn't that great, to be honest. I mean, yes, it had an amazing cast. The special effects were really well done. And unfortunately, it's the story and the humor that fall flat in this movie. Many of the jokes in this movie they don't hit the mark. They either are very old and very spoof-like, or they just don't make any sense.
So I don't know if it was a race thing or a lady thing, but I'm mad as hell.
And they're just trying to do jokes for laughs and not actually to progress the story. See, the one thing with the original Ghostbusters is that the jokes came second nature to the actual story. This one, I feel like the jokes were first with the story way down below. That's my opinion. So there's that. There was actually too much nostalgia in this movie too that actually I think bogged it down. They tried to recreate step by step what made the original Ghostbusters what it was and what created the team. And you know what? It doesn't work. They should have went into their own story in that sense. And in this movie too, they also tried to do everything bigger is better. The proton packs, the ghost trap, the PKE meter, those are all over the top. The ghost vomiting ectoplasm, over the top. They always try to be bigger and better. And unfortunately, in this case, it just didn't work. The movie also had a lot of scenes in it too that were just kind of just weird. So much out of character. The mayor of New York City, Andy Garcia, I have no idea what his purpose was and why he was trying to cover up Ghost.
Knock it off.
They never explained that. There's a government agency that's out there also covering up Ghosts. Makes no sense. You also had that weird dance number that happens in the middle of the movie. Okay. It is what it is. And, Chris Hemsworth is amazing in the movie. He's really funny as a goofy secretary. But you know what? None of that can save this movie, unfortunately. And that's why it's actually number 4 on my list. On to number 3. Coming in at number 3 is Ghostbusters 2, starring Ernie Hudson, Harold Ramis, Sigourney Weaver, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd. Probably thinking to yourself, is this really his number 3? But you know what? If you compare it to all 4 Ghostbusters movies, yes. Ghostbusters 2 came out 5 years later, and the script just wasn't strong enough. I know you would think that 5 years would give them enough time to actually do a really good script, but unfortunately, it just didn't fit. The real Ghostbusters cartoon had been on TV for a few years already by this point, and it seemed like what ended up happening was with Ghostbusters 2 was they tried to bring all the humor and tone it down a lot for Ghostbusters 2 that just didn't make the movie feel like Ghostbusters. Unfortunately, with this movie too, they also go step by step with the first Ghostbusters again. Because the movie starts, nobody believes that they're ghosts.
Man, face it, Ghostbusters doesn't exist.
They capture a ghost. Everybody's like, "Yay, Ghostbusters!" And then they go and save the day. And then they fight a big bad at the end, which actually they're writing the big bad this time. Statue of Liberty. It's not they're actually fighting him; they're actually the big bad. So in the end, they actually fight Vigo the Carpathia, and it just doesn't feel correct. It doesn't feel like a Ghostbusters movie. Some of the redeeming qualities for 2, though, this is a time when like the music for this one is actually very catchy. I actually do like this music in the second movie. It was taking in a lot of hip hop inspiration during that time. Like for example, the actual Ghostbusters song was remixed with with Run DMC. I do like the newer version on this one. So there's also another song in the movie by Bobby Brown called On Your Own. I'll enjoy that song too. It's a great song. So this movie actually had a really good soundtrack too with it. Some of the things I didn't like about it though was that, the special effects were just kind of, it just didn't feel like tangible like the first movie. Yeah, and the ghosts in this movie too are just kind of more cartoonish compared to the original movie. The Scolari brothers, the ghosts you see at the end of the movie, they look more cartoonish. And like I said before, this movie is more CGI, and that's kind of what impacts these creature designs. And they look like more of the creatures from the cartoon. They don't look like the ghost that we see in the first movie. So one of the issues that also came up with Ghostbusters 2 is that the character Janine Melnitz, they tried to make her character seem more like the character from the cartoon series. And it's just weird because, in the original series, there was more of a flirty love triangle with Egon she had. And then the second movie, now she's hanging out with Louis Tully, and they have their weird little love story going on. And it just feels odd. It doesn't feel like natural progression for her character. Bill Murray does not seem like he's having fun on this movie. He is doing every scene he's in. He feels like he's like, really, I got to be here for this movie. You just feel that in this movie. And I think that's what hurts this movie the most, is that the actors just are there for a paycheck, it feels like sometimes. Not all the time, don't get me wrong, but just majority of the time. And don't even talk about the villain, Peter McNichol's character, Jonash. His character is just way too over the top.
Oh, command me, Lord.
So as a curator of the art museum, he's just like completely over the top and just goofy. And unfortunately, it's really sad. Yeah, unfortunately, this one just wasn't up to par. Yes, it's very memorable scenes in there. We got a lot of Slimer, which I don't know why we do, but we did. And it just didn't hit all the notes what I was looking for in the movie. So unfortunately, that is why it's number 3 on my list. Coming in at number 2, it is Ghostbusters Afterlife, starring Finn Wolfhard, McKinnon Grace, Logan Kim, Carrie Coon, and introducing Paul Rudd. This was the newest Ghostbusters movie that just came out in 2021. So with this one, compared to the other two, humor did take a seat back again, and this was more of a grounded story. The story in this one was a mother and her kids end up moving to her estranged father's farm and then basically find themselves on that farm. The kids are able to finally grow up and have a coming of age story. That is what the story is about. And the humor comes out of those situations. You have characters like Mr. Gruberson, played by Paul Rudd, who fits perfectly within the Ghostbuster franchise. His humor matches that of Bill Murray's, Dan Aykroyd's, Harold Ramis of the original Ghostbusters. In this movie, he is super excited. He's like the little kid in the movie who's so excited to find Ghostbusters. Would also bring me to one of my main gripes with the series, that is that nobody ever remembers the Ghostbusters and believes they're fake. You know what? That's a story for another day. But that is one of my many gripes. With Ghostbusters Afterlife 2, special effects are amazing. They were using practical effects, not just CGI, which also helps with the story. They had a lot of major callbacks to the original movie. This one actually feels like a true predecessor to the very first Ghostbusters movie. And even though it's the third one in the series, and it does rehash many of the same elements with the Keymaster, with the Gatekeeper, with Gozer, it does it a new and a fresh idea. Yeah, with this cast, we have a new younger cast that does an amazing job in here. So the young cast in the movie is amazing. And this helps bring in a newer audience. They're bringing in that new Stranger Things audience that was out there, that nostalgia feel with that. McKenna Grace is amazing as Phoebe. She is the character who is trying to find herself, and she's lost in the whole movie. She doesn't know who she is, doesn't know where her path is. And she basically makes a connection with her past grandfather, knowing that she's part of something bigger, that she's not a freak in that sense. And that's very important to the story. That's where the heart lies. And trust me, if you want to go see something with McKenna Grace that's amazing, I would actually go back and watch her episodes in Young Sheldon. Her story arc in that series, it shows her emotional range, her acting range, and really shows you what this kid is actually capable of in acting. But back to Ghostbusters. Of course, you have Finn Wolfhard, who is known for Stranger Things, of course, and his character is pretty much Mike from Stranger Things. And he does bring in more of that everyday person. You have podcast in there too. So he's like a race dance character, and he brings in all the background characters, the background of the ghosts, understanding the paranormal and stuff like that. He is your tie into that world. Something I did find wrong with this movie though was that it did, like I said, it does lead in too much to nostalgia. There's the whole subplot with Ivan Shandor. He was the guy who built the giant tower in the first Ghostbuster movie, and in this movie he's back again, and it's like, okay, come on, guys. And we also get Gozer comes back again. This time played by Olivia Wilde. Special effects in this movie, great. They use a lot of practical effects. They use a lot of CGI to enhance practical effects, and I think that makes this movie work really well in that case. And even though with all the controversy with them bringing back Harold Ramis for Ghostbusters, and CGI his look, his facial features, what I like about that is that they didn't actually make him talk. It's just the ghost form of Egon. Because you can't have Ghostbusters without the 4 original Ghostbusters in there. And for them to pay that much tribute to Harold Ramis, who was essential to the Ghostbusters franchise, that's what makes that heart of the movie. You were able to give a proper send off to Egon. His family was able to say goodbye to him. The original 3 Ghostbusters were able to say goodbye to him. And that played off tremendously. And that actually, pulls at the heartstrings. And forget all the controversy. That was the heart of this movie, and that's why it stands up better than part 2 and the reboot. They made Egon the hero of the story. They made him crucial to that story in every way, which way. And that leads me to my number 1 on this list. And coming in number 1, it is Ghostbusters 1984, starring Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Harold Ramis, and Dan Aykroyd. What can I say that I haven't said already about Ghostbusters 1984? Everything about this movie is great. It is about 3 scientists who basically lose their jobs and decide to go into business for themselves, and their business just so happens to catch ghosts. And you know what? They become very famous from it. Everything about this movie works. The story beats work tremendously. The humor is spaced perfectly. All the actors, Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, they're all firing on every cylinder. William Atherton, who plays Walter Peck, he's a perfect human villain as the EPA agent. One thing I do like about the Ghostbusters, one thing I like about with Harold Ramis's role in the movie too, and this is actually a standout performance in the 1984 Ghostbusters, is that he does little subtle things in the movie that really stands out. For example, when they capture Slimer, and Peter's trying to figure out how much they need to charge the Cedric Hotel, Egon actually uses his fingers and wipes his face, telling him how much it's going to cost. And there's another scene too later on where he tells Peter Venkman and Janine to kind of head upstairs because something big is going to happen. But little subtle hints like that make the movie chef's kiss. The special effects in this movie are amazing. They were doing those special effects as they were making the movie, and they didn't know how they were going to turn out. They were just going as fast as they can and doing the best they can. And those special effects really stand out. The movie has a song, as Ghostbusters by Ray Park Jr., that stand the test of time, was a number 1 hit in 1984 when it came out. You know what? There is nobody out there that has not heard that song and will not start singing the Ghostbusters theme song.
Something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call?
You find me somebody out there who doesn't recognize that tune. I don't know. What can I say? It's really hard actually for me to break down what I would find bad about this movie. Actually, I am biased. This is my favorite movie of all time, so it's really hard for me to say, yeah, that's a bad thing. You know what? Some of the stuff that probably doesn't fit today, and some of the jokes they have in there, some are kind of a little over the top and a little more adult oriented. I can't think of anything bad to say about this movie. I'm very curious of what you guys think. What is your number 1 Ghostbuster movie? What is your least favorite? What are your thoughts on the other movies? Do you have a different ranking for the movies? Let me know in the comment section down below. With March 22nd, we're going to be doing our review of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I'll be doing 2 types of reviews. I'll be doing kind of a quick review, spoiler free, and then I'll go into kind of a really big spoiler review. And if you want to continue getting content like this and getting more videos about different movie series and seeing me open up exclusive toys and check out things like that, then hit the subscribe button down below. I'm posting every day right now, little shorts, Every week I'm posting a new full video. So yeah, check it out, guys. Let me know what you think. Go back and review some of the other content on the channel. Really appreciate it. And without further ado, until next time.
That concludes a Figgy Pop transmission.